All right, so we're continuing in a series that we started a few weeks ago entitled He Speaks, making sure that your next move is your best move, making sure that your next move is your best move. And life is like a journey. That's the way I look at life, like a journey. And with any journey, if you want to get the most out of the journey, you need to know where you're going. I want to say that again. If you want to get the most out of a journey, you need to know where you're going. There's nothing more frustrating than being on a journey and you don't know where you're going. It could be a vacation. You're on vacation, but you're not going to get the most out of that vacation if you don't know where you're going. And in order for us to know where we're going, we need a map.
Yeah.
A map provides directions. In life, you need a map to live life well. And that's what I've been doing over the last 3 weeks is I've been laying out a map for life's journeys. If you've been here, you'll see that we've been laying out a map. The first week, we talked about a starting point. If you're on a journey, you need to have a starting point. And what I pointed out in that particular message is that the starting point is God's will. If you want to know that your next move is your best move, if you want to make sure that your next move is your best move, then you need to have a starting point. You need to start with God. And we talked about God's will, and there are 3 aspects to His will. And I've been repeating this over and over again. You guys should already know it by heart, that the first aspect of God's will is His sovereign will. These are the things that God is going to do anyway because He's God. It has nothing to do with our prayers. Even if we don't pray about these things, God is still going to do it.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have faith in these things, God is still going to do them, right? And then we talked about God's moral will. God's moral will are those things that God wants each one of us to do. That we should love one another, that we should treat people right. There are certain things in the Bible that God expects from everybody, even if you're not a part of the church, that these are God's moral laws. And then we talked about, here's what we pointed out, between God's specific will and God's moral will is where we'll find, His sovereign will and His moral will, we'll find God's specific will for our lives. Right? Those things that we need to do specifically. Should I go to this school? Should I move to this area? Should I have children? Should I get married? Should I start dating? Right? Those specific things that are not necessarily in the Bible, but we want to know because we want to make sure that we make the right move, right? And so then we transition from week 1. We're talking about a journey, and life is a map. And we transitioned to week 2, and we talked about, can I borrow your map? That it's important that one of the channels that God uses to speak to us is through other believers.
Yeah.
And that you and I, if we want to be successful in life, if we want to make sure that our next move is our best move, we need to find somebody that's further along than us. Somebody that's a little bit further down the road, and we need to borrow a corner of their map because God speaks through other people. And then the third week, the last week, we talked about a reference point. A reference point that sometimes in life, even if you know where you're going, you can get lost sometimes, right? And when you get lost, you need to have a reference point, somewhere that you can refer back to make sure that you're on the track, on the right track. And what we talked about there was, it's important for us to understand the ways of God. That we need to look through the Bible and not just look for promises, not just look for practices, but we need to start looking through the Bible for principles so that we can understand the ways and the thoughts of God, so that we can make decisions with predictable outcomes, right? And we talked about how God said that His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. And so if we want to win, we have to start thinking like a winner. We have to start acting like a winner. And so that means we need to learn how to think like God. We need to learn how to act like God so that we can make the right move. And that's our reference point.
Right. Amen.
Today we're going to talk about, and it's from this thought right here, it's a question. Do you really even know where you're going? Do you really even know where you're going? And so I want to talk to you guys about vision. All right? Vision. What is vision? Vision is a picture of a desired future.
Yeah.
That's what vision is. It's a picture of a desired future. It's a mental picture of a desired future. I borrowed this from a class that I took about vision, and I think it's very good. And if I was you, I would write this down, make a note of this. But vision is a mental picture of what should be, fueled by the conviction that it should be, that it could be, all right? It's a mental picture of what could be, fueled by the passion that it should be. That's what vision is. And many people are going in the wrong direction, or going in many directions, because they don't have a big picture vision for their lives. Yes, God speaks to us through His Word. God speaks to us through other people. But God also speaks to us when He gives us a picture of what He wants our lives to look like in the future. There's nothing more frustrating than going but not knowing where you're going. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're going, but they don't know where they're going. They're just spinning their wheels. And that's why people are so frustrated. But here's the thing, when it comes to vision, God speaks to us through vision. Once He gives us a picture of where He's taking us, He speaks to us continually, right? But here's the thing. As the vision gets clearer, the options become fewer, and the decision becomes easier. Are you guys with me? As the vision becomes clearer, the options become fewer, and the decision becomes easier. See, if you don't know where you're going, you don't know what to say no to.
Okay.
And people can pull you in all different types of direction. If you don't have a plan for your life, you'll end up allowing somebody else to plan out your life based on the plan that they have for their own life. And so most of us, we have a general idea of where we're going. I taught this class over at Linwood High School, and that was one of the things that we talked about was vision. What do you want to do in the future? What do you want to be in the future? And these young people who were a part of the probation program, a lot of them just said, I want to be rich. Yeah, okay. You want to be rich. That's very general. It's not specific. You need a little bit more than I want to be rich. And many of us, we have a general idea of where we want to be in life, but it's not specific. See, if it's not specific, then it's not valuable to you. It can't just be general. This is a puzzle box, right? And these are the puzzle pieces. See, vision is what it looks like when it's finished.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a picture of what this thing looks like when it's finished, and all you have is these little pieces right here, you don't have enough. Can you imagine trying to put together a 1,000-piece puzzle, but you don't have a picture of what the puzzle looks like when it's finished? That's what it's like for many people in our community. That's what it's like for many people in the church. They have the pieces to the puzzle, but they don't know what the finished product looks like. And see, I'm not talking about just a general vision. I'm talking about a multifaceted vision. I'm talking about a vision for your life in terms of whether or not you want to be married. If you want to be married, what does it look like? It's not enough to just say, I want to be married, right? I counsel people all the time. And when I'm counseling people, if I don't feel like that person is ready for marriage, I'll tell them, look, we can continue to meet, but I'm not going to marry you because I don't think you're ready.
Jeez.
They want to have to have, it's a multifaceted vision. What do you want it to look like when you get married? If you don't have a clear vision for the important areas of your life, you are not ready to make a major decision. See, we have people that are making major decisions, right? When it comes to marriage, when it comes to finances, when it comes to career, these are major decisions. And you're not ready to make these major decisions if you don't know what it looks like. If you don't know what this thing looks like when it's finished, you're not ready to make that decision. And so you have to have a vision for every area of your life. When it comes to your finances, what do you want it to look like? See, I wanted just like those young people. My thing was I wanted to make a lot of money, but it wasn't defined. How much money do you want to make? How much money do you want to save? How much money do you want to invest? See, that's when you start to define the vision, right? Because you can make a whole lot of money and still be broke on another level.
Okay. You gotta say that.
Right? And so it's really about defining this thing. You're not ready to make the decision until you have this thing clearly defined. You're not ready to make the decision in terms of what school to go to. I know you're anxious and you want to make some decision, but if you don't have this thing clearly defined, you're not ready to make a decision. And so you need to know what it looks like when it's finished. What do you want your body to look like? Right? And see, that's what motivated me to start working on getting myself together, because I started becoming afraid of what my future looked like based on the choices that I was making today. I started looking at people that was in their 50s and looking at them with tubes connected to their bodies and barely moving around and no energy. And I said to myself, look, I don't want to die obese. I got a mental picture of my funeral, right? And I'm in the casket, and I'm this big, huge, obese person in the casket, and people are having a hard time when they're carrying me out. By the way, I do want to be buried. Do not cremate me. Do not cremate me. Look, come up with some money, sell some chicken dinners, whatever, but do not cremate me. I want to be buried. I'm going to put that out there right now so nobody come with some secret letter saying he said he wanted to be cremated. I want to be buried. But I don't want to see myself in a casket all big and out of shape. And not only that, I don't want to be in my 50s and barely able to move around. And so the vision, the mental picture that I have for my life determines the direction that I go in. We're going to illustrate this. There's a Bible verse that clearly illustrates this. I love this Bible verse. It's in Nehemiah chapter 6. In Nehemiah chapter 6, Nehemiah was a brilliant leader, a brilliant businessman. Giving you guys just a little bit of background, Nehemiah was the cupbearer to a king whose predecessors destroyed Israel. He was the cupbearer, so he served this king. Nehemiah gets this burden, this desire to go back to Jerusalem, to rebuild this wall. God's people were thrown into captivity because of judgment. God was judging them, so he threw them into captivity for 70 years. As 70 years begin to close out, people are beginning to return back to Jerusalem. And so you have somebody that goes back to Jerusalem, and they're reestablishing the economy. They rebuild this temple. And so Nehemiah gets this burden. Let me pause for a minute. Vision often begins with a burden.
Come on now.
See, people are wondering, what should I do? I really don't know what I should do. What is a burden that you have? What is a problem that you see needs to be solved in the world, right? We think that it's really about my career. I need to get out there and get my career going. No, your calling is superior to your career. So you figure the calling out, the career is just like play. But if you have the greatest career, you don't know your calling, you're just wasting time.
Come on now.
And so Nehemiah, he has this burden to go back and rebuild this wall. And so he goes to the king and he asks for permission to go back to rebuild the wall. He goes back to Jerusalem. It's about 800 miles away from where he's at. He goes back and he's busy building wall, right? And there's problems, right? There's turmoil within because people are not getting along with each other. That's a part of his circle. But then there's also opposition outside of his circle. People who are opposed to Israel becoming strong again. But nevertheless, Nehemiah presses on. And he's building this wall, and he's having some success. And he begins to put the finishing touches on the wall. He's almost done with building the wall. And so we're going to pick up in Nehemiah chapter 6, starting at verse number 1. It says, when word came to Sanballat. Sanballat is the bad guy. That's why his name sounds like that. You ever heard of a guy named Sanballat?
No.
He sounds like a bad guy with the name, right? The word came to Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies, that I had rebuilt the wall and not a gap was left in it, though up to that time I had not set the doors in the gates. In other words, I hadn't put the finishing touches on the project. Almost done, but I have not put the finishing touches on the project. Verse 2, Sanballat and Geshem sent message to me. It's important right here to catch this. Come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. So basically what he's saying is, the picture is this, right? Nehemiah is on the wall. He's finished building the wall. He's putting the finishing touches on the wall. And then there's some other people that's from this region. They're not a part of Israel. They're from this region. And they view Israel becoming strong again as a threat to them. And so they send message to Nehemiah, let's get together and meet. Let's talk about a few things. Let's work together, right? So he's up there doing what God called him to do, and they sent that message to him. So look at Nehemiah's response in verse 3. So I sent messengers to them with this reply. I am carrying on a great project and cannot come down. I'm currently carrying on a great project and cannot come down. Look at this question. Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same message, and each time I gave them the same answer. I like the New American Standard Bible's translation of this verse. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down.
All right.
Are you guys with me? I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop? So that I can come down and meet with you. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. I want you guys to say that with me.
Yes.
I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. Come on, let's say it again. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. What this verse illustrates for us is, once you determine what God has called you to do, the options become fewer.
Yeah. Oh.
You guys with me?
Yeah. Hey.
The options become fewer. Once you know what God called you to do. For Nehemiah, it was clear to him. The vision was clear. It was clear to him that God called him to rebuild that wall. And so for Nehemiah, it's just like this. And it's the same thing for you. For Nehemiah, everything that contributes to building that wall, I do it. Whatever distracts me from building that wall, I don't do it.
All right.
You guys see how that works?
Yeah.
When the vision becomes clearer, the options become fewer, and the decision becomes easier. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. See, the problem for most of us is we're not doing a great work.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're not doing a great Once this thing is clearly defined, you know what to say yes to and you know what to say no to. If my body, the image, the mental image of my body is clearly defined, that I want to have a nice body with nice abs and cut up and all of that, that means that I say yes to exercising, yes to vegetables, and no to cheeseburgers and laying on the couch watching TV. Are you guys with me? I'm doing a great work. And I cannot come down. Laser focused. Look, laser focused. Everything that gets me to my destination, I do it. Whatever distracts me from my destination, I don't do it.
No.
Listen to me when I tell you this. Every good opportunity is not a good opportunity for you. Are you guys with me?
Yeah.
Opportunities are going to come.
Yeah.
But every good opportunity is not a good opportunity for you. You will never know whether or not it's a good opportunity for you if you don't know what this thing looks like right here.
Oh. Wow.
I'm doing a great work. And I cannot come down. Right? I have a mental picture of what I want it to look like. God has clearly communicated it to me, what it's supposed to look like. My relationship with my adult children, I know what it's supposed to look like. It's clear. It's not vague. Right? And so once it's clear, the things that help me get there, I do them. The things that don't, no matter how good an opportunity it is, I don't do it. Many people, if they would have applied this principle before they got married, a lot of people would have been disqualified. Right? Because once you know what a good marriage looks like, God has revealed this to you. You know what to say no to. See, they were good for you when you didn't know. You didn't know, they didn't know, y'all was just some dummies. Ignorant people making babies, doing what grown people do. But once you know what this thing looks like, you say, thank you for the relationship, but we can't be together like that. Because I know what I want my marriage to look like, and you don't fit. You don't fit. You don't fit. Right? And so it's the same thing with your finances. When you're trying to get your money together, and you know what it looks like when it's the way that it's supposed to be, you know what to say no to. Even though you have those impulses. I want it right now. I want it right now. I want it right now.
Right now.
But you know what this thing looks like.
Amen.
You know what it looks like. And since you know what it looks like, you know what to say no to. Just because you want it right now does not mean that you should have it right now.
Right.
But when you don't know what this thing looks like, you just spin like crazy. I know that I want to buy a house in 5 years. I know that I want to be debt-free in 5 years. I know that I want to save up $10,000. It's well defined. You know what that thing looks like. And so once you know what this looks like, you're a fool if you keep saying yes to things that don't get you here. Got to know what this thing looks like. The finished product. So what is it that God has called you to do? What is the specific mental picture that God has given you for your life? Can you now say that I am doing a great work and I cannot come down? I can't do it. The work is calling me, and it's calling me clearly as to what I need to spend my time doing. And so the game plan is this. Lord, give me a mental picture of what it's supposed to look like in my marriage. Give me a mental picture of what my body is supposed to look like. Give me a mental picture of what my relationship with my adult children should look like. Give me a mental picture of what my finances should look like. And this connects to what we talked about last week, that your ways are not my ways. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. And so we need to become familiar with the ways of God and the thoughts of God so that when we think about our future, we're thinking about our future because we're inspired or influenced by the thoughts and the ways of God. And then as we live our lives, we can say, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. See, for me, for a long time, because I said I want a lot of money, Brother Wright, I did things to get a lot of money. That was my motivation, but I didn't find any fulfillment in doing things to get a lot of money. It wasn't well defined. And then I discovered my calling. My calling is to rebuild LA.
Jeez.
That's my calling. My calling is to pour into other people so that they can fulfill their calling. It's clearly defined. And so with Rebuild LA, God has given me this vision for Rebuild LA. It's not anything different from the vision that He gave me for Peace Chapel. Amen. Rebuild LA is just a vehicle that we can use, not me, that we can use to fulfill the mission that God has for this church, which is to develop fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Right? We haven't gotten away from that. That's my love. I believe that the church is the hope of the world, and I'm willing to spend the rest of my life serving the local church. Rebuild LA is a vehicle that can go where the church can't go, but it's still the same mission.
Amen.
The mission of Rebuild LA is to provide culturally relevant programs and services to the underserved in the greater Los Angeles. The mission for Peace Chapel is to develop fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ. The vision for Peace Chapel is the church as a training ground for the community. There is no conflict there. It's all consistent, right? And so as you begin to move forward in the direction that God is calling you to move in, He's going to start providing other pieces.
Yeah.
And other people to help you, and this serves as confirmation that you're going in the right direction. But you have to have this.
Yes.
You got to have a picture of what the finished product looks like. I want to share with you guys a Bible verse, or a Bible story, an illustration. It's not on the screen, but I got this during my devotional time. And you guys remember the story about the two builders. The wise builder and the foolish builder. Both of them were building, right? The wise builder and the foolish builder were both building a building. The wise builder was the one who dug deep and laid a solid foundation.
Yeah. Come on.
See, look, here's the thing. It takes time to lay a solid foundation. I was working with a person, a couple of the leaders here with me, working with a person that we was trying to help. He said, it's not happening fast enough. And see, me, based on experience, I know it doesn't work like that. If you want this thing to last, it's not going to happen fast. You got to spend some time digging deep, right? And this is why a lot of people don't know where they're going. This is why a lot of people are knocked down by everything that happens. They don't want to spend the time digging deep, right? So the wise builder was the one that dug deep, laid a solid foundation. The foolish builder was the one who built his house real fast on the sand. The Bible says that the wind came, the wind blew, and it beat against the house of the foolish builder and knocked it down. But then it beat against the house of the wise builder, and it beat, and it beat, and it beat, and it beat, and it will not fall. It wouldn't fall because it was built on a solid foundation. What was the solid foundation? The solid foundation was doing things the way God says do things. Jesus said in that same parable, why call me Lord if you're not willing to do what I tell you to do? And then prior to that, it talked about entering in through the narrow gate, because the broad way is the way that leads to destruction. The reason why we don't want to go through the narrow gate is because it's hard. A lot of people are not becoming who God wants them to become because it's hard. They're afraid of hard things. But I'm telling you, the only way that you're going to get there, the only way you're going to get here, is you have to endure the hard things. You have to keep pressing on. What is your motivation? To finish product.
Yes.
There's a way that seems right to a man, but the end leads to destruction. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart.
All your heart. Amen.
And lean not on your own understanding. You come full circle, church. Full circle as I close this thing out. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. The things that make sense to you.
Yeah. Okay.
The things that come naturally to you. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him. In other words, be riveted to Him, connected to Him, sold out to Him in all of your ways. And He will make your path straight.
Yes.
It's just that simple. Do you even really know where you're going?
Come on now.
If you don't know where you're going, you're just going anywhere. And there are people who are 60, 70. Do you think I'm going to figure this thing out later? There are people 60, 70 years old. They still don't know where they're going. You have the roadmap. I've done what I was supposed to do as a leader. We're transitioning into a whole other sermon series. So if you was playing around missing church because you didn't feel like getting up, or wasn't that big of a deal, that's on you. If you was on social media when I was up here teaching, that's on you. I gave you the goods.
All right.
This is good stuff right here, brother. Right? I preach this stuff to myself. I preach this stuff to my kids. It's good stuff right here. I'm going to write a book about this good stuff one day. I hope you was paying attention. If you missed anything, I think everything is at peacechapel.church on the Peace Chapel Facebook page. I want you to get this stuff. I want to roll with successful people.
Yeah.
The principle that I didn't share is that when you hang with wise people, you'll become wise.
That's right.
You're a companion of a fool, you'll suffer harm.
Yes.
So I want to be around wise people who are going in the right direction. They know what this thing looks like. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for your word. Lord, we know you speak. There's not a question as to whether or not you speak, Lord. It's really about the follow-through. Are we willing to apply the things that you speak about in your word? Even when it doesn't mesh with our own understanding? Are we willing to go in your direction even though the direction we want to go in seems like the right direction? It really boils down to whether or not we trust you, Lord. Help these your gathered people, Lord, to become so familiar with your sovereign will and so obedient and committed to your moral will that your specific will for their lives is extremely clear. Help them to not be too proud to go to other people for wise counsel and ask them can they borrow their maps. Help them to become familiar with your ways and your thoughts, Lord, so that they can already know the outcome even before they make the next move. And then, oh Lord, give them a big picture vision for their lives, Lord, your big picture vision for their lives so that they can know what work to do and what not to do. So that they can say, like Nehemiah, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. When the cell phone rings and they look at the caller ID, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. In Jesus' name, amen.